Protecting your peace. What to do when you feel like you are just surrounded by negativity. On this quick episode, I want to share with you something that I've been feeling and experiencing, just the energy online, with people. And I want to give you some things to think about and some tips about what to do to sort of protect your energy if you feel like you're also surrounded by a stream of negative energy around you. All right, friends, let's have a little chat. And what I want to talk to you today is what to do to sort of quote unquote protect your peace if you feel like you're surrounded by negativity. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is a few reasons. First of all, I would say the first thing that comes to mind, and let me just put like the caveat in here that anyone in my circle, family, friends, that is not what I'm referring to at all. I'm very fortunate that I'm not surrounded by, I would say, a negative energy in that sense. And I think it's also part of, what boundaries you put in place if you feel like there are people who pull your peace from you. And being able to put up some of those boundaries, change those relationships, remove yourself from relationships. But for me, it's more so coming at it from the lens of online, from social media, from that type of a presence as someone who needs to use that for business, as well as it's just something that I hear come up as well from my clients, and more so when I'm talking to leaders in organizations or things and they feel like they have this negativity. It's also top of mind because when I was just recently at an organization doing a emerging leader program, and we were teaching energy leadership, the signature framework that we use for helping people to build their presence, to build their influence, and to build their resilience, really. And that is one of the things that comes up. It's like, what do you do if you're doing all of the work, but everyone else, let's just say, to be dramatic, is kind of trying to pull you into what I call the pit of despair. So let's talk about this. So first of all, hopefully, if you're listening to this, you are somebody who is surrounded by friends, families, coworkers, community, who's positive, who's uplifting, who makes you feel good about yourself, all of that. And if you're not, like if you are, help someone else who isn't, right? And share your tips. If you're not, I want you to think about a couple things. So for me, why this is top of mind is more from a social media perspective, because so I use social media, different platforms for my business in different ways. Part of it is just part of having brand presence and awareness on the different platforms. Also just kind of some fun to build connection. There's people that are friends, family, follow me, clients, past clients, prospective clients. And I use different social media platforms for different ways. So for example, I have LinkedIn, which I would say in general tends to feel more positive. I would say it's the most positive feeling platform that I use. I don't tend to see a lot of things on there that are kind of triggering or negative. However, there are, if you dig and you look, there are. And again, it really depends on who you're connected with. So that would say that's one platform, and I largely use that for more of my leadership development firm, for sharing when I'm speaking at events, for sharing tips, ideas, connecting with people. I would say that one definitely feels more uplifting and positive. However, of course, you're going to find those things. And if you find yourself like not connected with those types of people on LinkedIn, one of my biggest tips for you would be just filter through who you're connected with, right? So when I look at who I follow and who I'm connected with and who's following me, in general, it's people who are in leadership roles, who are entrepreneurs, who are business owners, who are prospective clients, who are posting positive things about, their work, what they're doing in their work, about leadership things. I'm also connected with a lot of other coaches or speakers like me. So in general, there is this very positive energy. If you're not in that type of space on, let's just say, LinkedIn presence for now, my challenge for you would be to maybe you need to unfollow or maybe you need to unconnect with certain people and curate your group a little bit differently, because you have more ability, I would say, in the platform to be able to kind of curate what type of an experience you want on there. And so that's the one. I would say the one that I have largely used for another part of my business is Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, it's at julie.menden. And I've largely used that part to share personal things, just kind of fun. It's a place to be, kind of let your hair down a little bit more. And I'll just share in my stories. I'll share, just fun little things. I'll share funny stories about my family or my son or my dog or life things that are going on. I'm usually pretty transparent on there to just build connections and relationships with people. I know one of the greatest compliments I've gotten from clients who I've worked with who have said, hey, I've been following you online and I just really liked your energy. I liked how real you were. And then they got on a call with me. They're like, you're just like how you are on there. So like to me, that's just really building that relationship. But I've largely kind of segmented and used my Instagram for that, but also mostly for my speaking mentorship. And so that is a branch of what I do. So if you didn't know, so I have a leadership development firm and we have multiple pillars of work that we do under that sort of umbrella. And so I do keynote speaking at events, but I also have a leadership development track where we go in and we partner as kind of a strategic partner with organizations to help them develop their leadership capabilities. So we do that through leadership development workshops, through one-on-one executive coaching, through a variety of assessments. We also have a pillar where I'm doing one-on-one coaching, executive coaching. And then we have another pillar that's more in the, space of speaking mentorship and speaking coaching. And I do this for executives and organizations, but also we do this for other entrepreneurs or small business owners who want to use speaking to grow their business. And so I do that one-on-one. And I also have my Speaker Space Academy that we've been running for 3 years now. And this is really a speaking mentorship group program. It's a hybrid of one-on-one and group. And our clients get amazing results from this. So it's really helping you to grow your business by growing your visibility, by being able to book speaking. And I do a lot of that on Instagram. I have for years. I've been using Instagram for business for 5.5 years now, ever since I started in the coaching space. And I've kind of, ebbed and flowed and evolved what I focused on there. And for me, it's just really worked to kind of segment out that. The thing is I always loved Instagram. And if you're listening to this, you might also be feeling this as well. If you're somebody who uses Instagram, I know not everybody does. It depends what you do. Some people use it totally for fun. Some people use it for business, and some people kind of a blend of both. And then there's some people who are like, I don't want to touch Instagram or any of that at all. I'm not on all the platforms. I don't really do TikTok. I don't do a lot of those other ones. But I loved Instagram. To me, I grew a really successful business on there, just authentically. I have not done paid ads. If you don't know, I'd never done paid ads or anything like that. Might be something we pursue at some point, but it was really building it through relationships and connections. I would go, a lot of the way that I connected with people is I would go in person to masterminds, or I would join business coaching where there's other people and I would meet them in person, and then we'd go and connect online, and then that would just start to grow. And then I would get referrals. I would do content on there a lot of different, through stories and through my feed, and do a lot of content about teaching how to be a better speaker and fun things you can do, but also educational. And it was really successful platform for me for growing that part of the business. And I loved it. You could just through, I always kind of joke, my husband always jokes me like in the DMs, quote unquote, but that really was like through the DMs, someone might have been following me for a long time. They're like, hey, I just really feel like I have this connection with you. Sometimes we'd hop on a call, or sometimes we'd literally just do business through direct messaging, if you don't know what the DMs are, right? So through that direct messaging, the thing is, as I really feel personally that platform has really changed. The way that you do business on there, I feel like has really changed. I feel like the energy on there has really changed. And now the same thing I would say, if you've been feeling this, to some extent, the same thing like with LinkedIn. It really is partly who you're connected with. So my tip for you is, if you're also feeling that, there's a couple things, is maybe you need to curate your connections, and maybe there are absolutely people that I either unfollowed, or I don't know the name of it, but I almost like muted their profile so I don't see things for a few reasons. There's some people who I just unfollowed because I'm like, I don't want to see their content. It's making me feel down when I open up the platform. Or there's some people who we can kind of get that little bit of, if they're in a similar field to you, it's good to know what your competitors are doing, but we don't want our own authenticity and message to get clouded by somebody else's style. So there are some people who I just kind of muted it so I don't see when they're posting stories or things like that, but I didn't disconnect from them. So that has kind of helped me. But also, so I would say that's one piece, but something I've noticed is, obviously, with everything going on in the world, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of disconnect. There's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of very strong opinions on either side. If we're talking about political things or things going on in the world, there is a lot, and it is bringing out a lot in people. And for me, I don't get into those things on social media, and I also don't want to be inundated with that when I get onto social media. But because of the amount of it, and if again, maybe you're feeling this as well, I feel like when I open up these platforms, I am just unwillingly not signing up for consuming massive amounts of very negative things. And that I've realized over the last, it's been a while, but I think it's been building for the last like 6 months, this just heaviness that I feel when I open up that app. And, I definitely think I think a lot of us have an addiction to our phones where it's just like natural that you pick up your phone and you look at those things. And so for me, because I'm so used to have done a lot of business on Instagram and using it a lot, that I definitely have I would say an unhealthy attachment to like checking it. And I've been trying to be more mindful of that. It's almost just like an automatic tick now where I go, because I'm like, oh, do I have a message? Or, oh, I need to post this, or, oh, I need to share that I did this. But now when I go into it, I feel this heaviness because, I will open it and I feel like either connections that I have or just things that I see in my feed, there's so much negativity. There's so much anger. There's so much frustration. And not to say that I want to invalidate any of people's experiences, but it just feels heavy. And I've been feeling conflicted about it because it's hard when you want to use these platforms to connect with people and to have relationships and stay connected, and for business, especially if any of you use it for business building or for your personal brand. However, and I've been seeing other people talk about this, like, why are people more anxious? Why are people more depressed? Why are people feeling more disconnected in a world where we're more connected than ever? Meaning you can connect with anybody or access anything online. And this disconnection, it's because we're being exposed to so much information that we never were before. Like our brain, somebody was talking about, our brains can't process, nor should we be exposed to all of the negative things going. Like if there's ever, if there's school shootings, or if there's things in, that happen, traumatic things that happen in towns or all of that, like you go on and you just see all of it right away. Whereas before it was like, if you turned on the news, you would see it or you would talk about it, but and images and videos and things that we don't need to be seen all the time. And I really have been feeling that. And so it's just something that I've been thinking about that I really just wanted to talk a little bit about. It's just, I don't have all the answers on how to move through that, but I think it's something that we need to be mindful of how much we are consuming. And for me, I notice as I'm going about my day and I'm hopping on there, and again, I'm still sort of living in the expectation of what was. And I think sometimes it can be hard for us to form the now what is and what could be, because I'm still kind of hanging on to what was, because the what was for me was I would go on there and I would feel so motivated. There were so many people that I followed that I would see their content and I just felt so motivated by their success in business, and it was positive and uplifting. And I still do see that, but there's a lot of things just with the algorithm and all that too on social media that you just don't see as much of that. Like I know I've had people message me and say, hey, I haven't been seeing your stuff. Like I don't even see your stories as much. And so with all of that happens, so I feel like I'm still holding on to the what was. And I think that can be really tricky. And so I don't have all the answers other than to say it is a really big thing I'm thinking about right now, is what do I want my relationship with online, with social media to look like, especially given the heaviness of everything that's going on. There's just been more and more negativity. And I think there's this balance between being educated on what's going on and being able to respect everyone's opinions, with needing to protect, as I'll say, like protect your peace. As if I'm in the middle of my flow of my day and I'm in between coaching clients and I'm, in this positive energy, and then I go on there to respond to something or to check something or to do something, and then you kind of get sucked into this vortex of this negativity and this combative, it just pulls your energy and attention away for the whole day. So some things that I'm thinking about is just rethinking my relationship with social media, how I use it for business. Some people take a complete break from it. They will just decide that they're going to delete the app for a while. Some people, maybe you can't do that because of part of your job might be to do that. But for me, it's like, is there just I go on and I post a story or post content in my feed and there's no scrolling, which makes me a little sad because I've seen some in the past, some really cool things that are exciting and motivating, or if there's just particular people that I want to go check out their content for. Do I need a complete break from social media? Do I need to just take a little bit time off? Do I need to set that I go on for this amount of time per day and just post some content and maybe send a couple, messages to people to keep up connection, but not scroll at all? So these are all the things I'm noodling around on. To me, I don't know if it feels right at this point to totally not check it, but I don't know. I would love if you have done some type of social media detox or even some boundaries you set up. I would absolutely love if you reached out to me and share with me, because these are just some things I'm thinking of. So that's all from like the online and you listening. And then obviously there's Facebook. I don't use Facebook very much for business stuff. I use it a little bit to post some personal things, but that's not one that I'm scrolling on a lot. But it's the same thing. When I go on there, I feel like all I see is people's opinions who I'm connected with, friends and family who are extreme on either direction politically. But I also see a lot of negative things on there as well. So I don't go on that platform as much either. So that's my first just kind of tips, is just being mindful of if you feel your energy going throughout the day. Is it because you're checking things, because you're being in all of these things that you're consuming? And what that does to your brain throughout the day. And so I would love some tips. The other thing I would say is like physically with people that you're around if you feel that negativity. And that was something that I talk to my clients about, and also that I talk in my leadership development programs, because we teach energy leadership, which is an attitudinal assessment, how you show up when things are going well, how you show up under stress. And the really big thing about this is also to think about the people that you're around. And so we were talking about these techniques and these things that you can do to ensure that you are showing up in your most energetic state. And this is from a neuroscience and positive psychology, cognitive behavior, research-based point of view, and how as we're showing up, we are either responding from different parts of our brain that either allow us to be more productive, tap into more empathy, be more creative, or we are reacting out of kind of habit from that fight, flight, or freeze response. And really thinking about what type of energy is it that you bring into the room when you walk into a meeting, when you are talking to people. Are you the person who's lifting people up, who they want to be around, who's got this energy that's motivating? Or are you the type of person who's kind of, I say, kind of like sucking the life from people of it's down and everything's negative? And so it's not only being aware of yourself and really thinking about what type of an energy am I bringing, and that's whether it's virtual through messages, through emails, or it's in person with people, with your presence and the words that you say. And we need to sometimes hold up a mirror, like even when we're in tough seasons of life or we're really stressed and overwhelmed, we can have those moments of kind of being in the pit, I call it, like that pit of despair. But if we're the person who's constantly staying there, then we are the person who's really taking the energy down. And if you're the person who's really working to maintain your high levels of energy, who's trying to maintain positivity with changes going on your team or within your organization, but you feel like everybody that you're around is really negative, again, what do you do there? So we were talking about, again, from an energy leadership standpoint, when we're in this catabolic energy, which is very destructive, which is high stress, we get stuck in this sort of tunnel vision, and we can kind of fall into the pit of despair, where we're either the victim of everything, like everything's happening to you. Of course this happened. Of course they did that to me. Of course there's another change. And we get really stuck in like self-doubt. We get really stuck in kind of guilt, a lot of these things. Or we are in what we call level 2, which is like anger, frustration, resentment, like combativeness. And so when you have people who are really stuck in that pit of despair, it can, again, the same thing with online, with social media, it can start to pull you down. We kind of start to fall to that level of energy. And so some things that we talk about is, first, you just need to be aware and mindful that it's happening, and be able to kind of point to what people or situations are triggering that in you, what people or situations are causing that, and how can you maintain, like, we can't change other people. That's the thing, is we sometimes feel like everything's outside of our control, because we're like, well, they're just like, but the only thing you can control is you, how you show up, how you respond, how you react, and the boundaries that you set. And so the first thing is just to know that you do have choice. Your choice is how you view the situation, is how you interact with those people, how you let it affect your day. And so bringing yourself back to choice. So some of the things that we were talking about in our leadership course was really around you needing to be aware and being intentional. What type of energy do you want to go into that interaction with that person with, whether it's in a meeting or a conversation, tough conversation? What type of energy, what level of energy do you want to bring into that conversation? And how are you planning to maintain that if they're in the pit of despair? And sometimes just by us changing our energy and changing our lens, we can change theirs and we can move them to maybe a higher level of energy, or maybe they stay stuck there, but we're not falling into the pit with them. We're able to stay on the outside. And we can do that by being really intentional, by going in prepared, by going in kind of telling ourselves like, this is how I want to show up. This is what I'm going to do when they say that thing that I know is going to trigger me. So really going in with a plan, sometimes even doing some like deep breaths and centering yourself before, maybe even during the meeting, maybe after, like needing to shake off, like literally shake off that energy that you feel that you just had. And we also talk about just some techniques you can do, like changing your perspective on it, meaning you just choose to view it differently. What are some questions you could ask yourself is like, how else could I think about this? What else could be going on for them? And really thinking about maybe it's really not about you. Maybe it's all about them and it really has nothing to do with you. Or we talk about your other choices, changing your action on it, meaning maybe you need to do something differently. Maybe you need to tell them that it's bothering you. Maybe you need to, show up to that meeting differently. Maybe you need to not show up to that meeting. Like what type of action might you need to take differently? We also talk about the option of accepting it from the sense of just truly not letting it get to you, like just accepting that that's how that person is. It's not your job to change them, but it's also not your job to fall to that level of energy. And the other option you have is to leave it. And what I mean by that doesn't necessarily mean like if this is a relationship, a friend or a family member, it might mean you just don't interact with them as much. It might mean that you don't spend as much time. You have more boundaries that you put up with them. Maybe if it's a work relationship that you feel like is really toxic, or a leader or a manager or a team member, maybe you physically need to leave that position or that organization if you feel like you've tried. Usually what we say is you try these other things. You try changing your perspective. You try changing your action. You've tried accepting it. And if none of that works, sometimes that option of leave it might, like I said, it might look like not interacting with that person. It might look like boundaries. It might look like, needing to switch teams. However, one of my biggest challenges for you is to realize, what control do I have over this? Like, I know I would find myself in moments, especially more, and not like physical people that I'm working with in environments, but more that online, that I would just feel like, oh, it's all them, right? Like they're just, if only they would stop posting that, or they would, and I had to realize that again is almost that victim mentality, because they can do that. I do wish people didn't put all of these things on social media. However, I have a choice on how I consume it. Again, I can set up boundaries. I can remove people. I can block people. I can not follow people, or I can just not go on. And it's the same thing if you feel like, you're surrounded by negative people, is what control do you have to maintain your own peace, your own energy, and really live the life that you want to. This life is short. I mean, it's short. Every day is truly a gift, whether it's a stressful day or not. And what I think about is I don't want to spend my time surrounded by that negativity, because we all out personally have enough going on, right? Like you have enough throughout your day to day that you're dealing with that you don't need everyone else's stuff too. And it's not your job to take all that on for them. And so I hope that this conversation was helpful for you. It's something that's been top of mind for me. I would love to hear from you if it's something you've been thinking about, if you have some tips, tricks to share with me as well. But hopefully the tips that I shared with you, and just the reminder that you have more control than you think. We get to control ourselves. We only have control of ourselves. We can't control other people. And we can have peace just knowing that oftentimes it's not about us, whatever their negative energy is. It's their own things going on. But we get the choice to set the boundaries. We get the choice to either get sucked into that or to stay above it, to rise above it, to stay out of that pit of despair and stay into the energy that we want, to live into the life that we want, our personal, our professional goals. Again, what do they say? Ain't nobody got time for all of other people's stuff, so that you can really prioritize and take care of you. So hopefully this was a good reminder to you. Remember to protect your own peace so that you can keep living into the days and how you want them to go.